Hello and welcome to our 7-8 minutes of weekly Torah talk. Our guest today is Rabbi Alan Green from the Shaarei Tzedek congregation in Winnipeg, Canada. Hello, Rabbi. Thank you for being with us.
I'm glad to be here. Shalom, shalom.
Our parsha is Chukat, and in this parsha we learn the laws of the red heifer, whose ashes purify a person. After 40 years of journeying through the desert, the people of Israel arrive in the wilderness of Tzin. Miriam, the sister of Moses, dies, and the people thirst for water. God tells Moses to speak to a rock and command it to give water. Moses gets angry at the rebellious Israelites and strikes the stone. Water issues forth, but Moses is told by God that neither he nor Aaron, his brother, will enter the promised land. Aaron also dies at Hor Hahar. Snakes attack the camp after another eruption of discontent, and Moses places a brass serpent on a high pole, and all those who will gaze heavenward are healed. Moses leads the people in battles against the Amorite kings and conquers their lands east of the Jordan. The second pasuk of this parsha says, Zot chukat HaTorah, no, it's the first pasuk. Zot chukat HaTorah אשר ציווה אדוני לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל, ויקחו אליך פרה אדומה תמימה, אשר אין בה מום, אשר לא עלה עליה עול. This is the statute of the Torah which the Lord commanded, saying, Speak to the children of Israel and have them take for you a perfectly red, unblemished cow upon which no yoke was laid. So, Rabbi, this is certainly one of the strangest practices in the whole of the Torah, right?
Yes, indeed. In fact, the commandments can be broadly divided into two categories. There are the chukim, commandments which don't make strict rational sense, and there's the mishpatim, or judgments, which are the commandments that are necessary to have ordinary civil society, commandments against lying, stealing, cheating, murdering, those kinds of things. But the chukim, of which this is a prime example, don't make a great deal of rational sense. They tend to be those commandments that are more for the Jewish people specifically and more in the direction of attachment or devotion to God. And so you could say that this particular chok is the chok. It's like the most irrational of all the chukim.
Right, because for some of them we can still try and rationalize them. For example, the types of food that we can eat and those we are commanded to refrain from, we can try and rationalize the difference between this or that type of food. But with the red heifer, there is no rationalization that can actually work, right?
It's the most irrational of all the chukim. And I would say Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai summed it up well when his students pressed him on this issue. And he said, in actual fact, the presence of a corpse doesn't make one impure, and this ritual of sprinkling water doesn't make one pure. But we have to follow it because it's a decree of the Holy One. It's a chok of the Holy One, blessed be He, and we dare not question these kinds of decrees. We just do what we're told in this case. But I would say that it makes sense in a way for this to be a less than rational kind of procedure around death, because death itself is so incomprehensible. Moreover, we're in a part of the Torah where death seems to abound on all sides.
Right.
We had the 10 spies, negative report about the land and all the chaos that ensued. And then we have last week Korach and more death and more chaos that ensued. And in this parsha, as you said, it's the death of Moses. It's the death of Aaron. It's the death of Miriam. And Moses' death is foreshadowed in the incident where he speaks to the rock or strikes the rock without speaking and gets angry. And God tells him he won't be able to enter the land.
Well, we
So
know that all of this generation is about to disappear. So we could assume that they will all be dead soon.
Yes. So it's more than appropriate, I think, that we have this kind of irrational ritual appearing right at this point where death is abounding on all sides. And I would say that it's a reminder to us that in the world in which we live, death abounds on all sides. We live in a world of change, and every change is a kind of death.
And the red heifer is supposed to do what? It's a ritual that is supposed to help us heal from the pain that involved with death, or is it a ritual that aims to, I'm trying to rationalize it, even though we just said that it's impossible. So give me something to cling to as I think about this ritual.
I can give you something to cling, because when we experience the death of a loved one, it inflicts a kind of wound on us. And how do we deal with that? How do we resolve the mourning process? We have to attend to our feelings of sorrow and sadness and grief and separation in an honest way, which is to say, we recover from mourning by mourning. And in the red cow ritual, it's similar, that even though we're creating this water with the ashes of the red cow that purify, everyone who's involved in the ritual is made impure. And this is a parallel situation to recovering from grief by grieving. There's only one way to get around the pain of death, and that is through the pain of death. So it's a kind of paradox, it's kind of irrational, but death is this incomprehensible reality that we have to deal with in this way. And the red heifer ritual, I believe, is a reminder of that.
And since the heifer is also getting killed, we can say that we heal from impurity by going through an impure process, and we are healed from grief over death by killing a creature.
The common saying is, it takes a thorn to remove a thorn. And in the case of death, there's no way around the pain. You just have to go through the pain.
Right. What significance do you see to the death of Miriam and then Aaron? First of all, why this sequence? Is there a reason why Miriam goes first and then Aaron and only then the great leader Moshe?
It's an interesting question. I would say, well, Miriam was the eldest, I believe. Then Aaron, then Moses. So maybe it makes chronological sense.
By age, right?
But there's probably more to it than that. I've not considered that question in the past.
Right. And
what do you say?
And the fact that two of them die in the same parsha, that we have to deal with both these deaths before we get to the real one of Moshe.
You could say that the deaths of these two other leaders is a kind of dress rehearsal. And, again, it's a letting go by degrees. You could say that it's part of God's compassion upon the Jewish people, that it's first one and then the other, and then finally Moses. Had Moses died first, the order would not have been instructive. It wouldn't have been very positive for them.
Right, and thinking about these characters in the Torah, Miriam is probably the one to which we are least attached, and then Aaron, and then Moses, because she plays the smallest role in previous chapters, and Aaron, the second largest role, in Moshe is the leader.
That's an interesting observation, but you know the story of Miriam's well, and without that well, the people would not have survived in the desert all those years. And of course, there's sort of a symbolic and mystical interpretation of that well, that she provided a kind of nourishment on the spiritual level that the people would not have been able to live without. So actually, in a hidden way, perhaps, Miriam was as important, or perhaps even more important.
Rabbi, thank you so much for these wonderful lessons, and Shabbat Shalom.
Well, you make it so easy. A wonderful, wonderful week, and Shabbat Shalom to you.